Hello friends, welcome to my channel Pediatrics and Life Tips. Today I will talk about Pediatric Hemolytic Uremic Syndrome. Hemolytic uremic syndrome is the most common cause of acute renal failure in children. The triad of hemolytic uremic syndrome consists of microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, thrombocytopenia, and acute renal failure. The clinical course of hemolytic uremic syndrome vary from subclinical to life-threatening condition. Now I will discuss the classification. The first type is the infection-induced. In this, Shiga toxin-producing E. coli-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome is the most common. It is also known as classical, typical, or diarrhea-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now, worldwide, O157H7 strain of E. coli caused the disease, but in Europe and Germany, outbreak occurred with O104H4 strain. Now, in Asia and Africa, the toxin of Shigella dysentery type 1 is responsible for this disease. Now, the third type is the neuraminidase or pneumococcal associated hemolytic uremic syndrome, and HIV infection can also cause the disease. The second category is the genetic type. It is also known as atypical or non-diarrheal hemolytic uremic syndrome. In this, most important is the mutation of factor H protein, which is a regulatory protein in complement cascade. Now, mutation in complement factor I, B, membrane cofactor protein, complement C3, complement regulatory protein, thrombomodulin, and defect in vitamin B12 metabolism also cause atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now, some cases are caused by genetic or acquired defect in von Willebrand cleaving metalloproteinases, and there are also autosomal dominant and recessive forms of atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. In this, there is unidentified mutation. Hemolytic uremic syndrome can be associated with certain systemic diseases like SLE, malignant hypertension, antiphospholipid syndrome, scleroderma, or malignancy. Certain drugs can also cause this condition, and the most common is the cyclosporin and tacrolimus. Now, HUS can also be associated with transplantation and pregnancy. Now, the epidemiology. The reservoir of Shiga toxin-producing E. coli is the intestinal tract of the domestic animal. It is transmitted by undercooked meat or unpasteurized milk and apple cider. Now, local outbreaks have occurred with undercooked contaminated hamburger and food cross-contaminated on the unwashed cutting board at the fast food restaurants. It can also spread by contaminated municipal water supply, petting farms, or swimming in contaminated ponds, lakes, or pools. Water epidemics have occurred with lettuce, raw spinach, and bean sprouts. Now, person-to-person contact is responsible for spread in the families or daycare centers. Shiga toxin-producing E. coli hemolytic uremic syndrome most commonly occur in summer and early fall. Seasonal variation is not observed in atypical type. Hemolytic uremic syndrome occur in all races but is rare in black. Now, male-female are equally affected, however, female are more severely affected. Now, Shiga toxin-producing E. coli hemolytic uremic syndrome is most common in children aged 7 months to 6 years, while atypical type can occur at any age but usually occur in later childhood and adulthood. Now, the pathophysiology. Microvascular injury with endothelial cell damage is characteristic of all forms of hemolytic uremic syndrome. This capillary and arteriolar endothelial injury lead to localized thrombosis in the kidney, particularly the glomeruli. This leads to decrease in glomerular filtration. There is also progressive platelet aggregation, which lead to consumptive thrombocytopenia. Now, microangiopathic hemolytic anemia results from mechanical damage to the red blood cells as they pass through the damaged and thrombotic microvasculature. Diarrhea-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome is usually preceded by hemorrhagic colitis. This leads to systemic absorption of the Shiga toxin of the E. coli, and this toxin directly damages the endothelial cells in the gut, kidney, and other organs. It also directly activates platelets, leading to their aggregation. In pneumococcal associated hemolytic uremic syndrome, the enzyme neuraminidase cleaves the sialic acid on the membranes of endothelial cells, red cells, and platelets. So, the normally hidden T antigen is exposed. Now, the serum endogenous immunoglobulin M recognizes this T antigen and triggers a microvascular angiopathy. Atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome is often triggered by a mild infectious disease. Now, this mild endothelial injury evolved into an aggressive microangiopathy due to inherited deficiency of the regulatory complement factors, especially the complement factor H. Now, I will discuss the clinical presentation. The Shiga toxin producing E. coli associated hemolytic uremic syndrome is usually preceded by 3 to 12 days of bloody diarrhea with or without vomiting and crampy abdominal pain. In pneumococcal associated hemolytic uremic syndrome, the patient usually has pneumonia with empyema. Now, in atypical type or the genetic forms, the onset is insidious and are usually triggered by mild non-specific GI or respiratory tract infection. Now, these are the features which are common to all forms of hemolytic uremic syndrome. There is sudden onset of pallor, hemolysis proceeds rapidly with rapid fall in hematocrit. The platelet count also fall below 40,000 per microliter, so there are petechiae, purpura and oozing from the venipuncture site. However, overt bleeding is less common. Acute renal insufficiency rapidly occurs. There is decreased urine output, but frequent diffuse watery stool may mask this sign in the case of diarrhea-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now, if this condition is not recognized, there is hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, severe acidosis, ascites, edema, pulmonary edema, and hypertension. In all types of hemolytic uremic syndrome, there is sudden onset of lethargy and irritability. Other neurological symptoms including ataxia, coma, seizures, hemiparesis, and other focal neurological signs are more common in atypical type than the typical hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now, fever is usually present in 5 to 20% of these patients, and fever, leukocytosis, or both are the prognostic indicator of developing more severe disease. There may be mild pancreatic involvement or congestive cardiac failure. On physical examination, the blood pressure is usually elevated unless the patient is volume depleted because of diarrhea. The child appears ill and pale. There is peripheral pitting edema, petechiae, purpura or oozing from the venipuncture side, and abdominal pain and tenderness is also present. Now I will discuss the laboratory test. The classic finding is the anemia, thrombocytopenia, and fragmented RBCs, that is schistocyte, helmet cell, and Burr cell in the peripheral film. The WBC differential show a left shift, that is immature WBCs, band, myelocytes, or metamyelocytes. The WBC count is high in typical type of hemolytic uremic syndrome. The comb test is negative except in pneumococcal associated HUS. The retic count is elevated and the serum haptoglobin is decreased. PT and APTT is normal, fibrin degradation products are increased, fibrinogen level is increased or it may be normal. The Adams TH13 activity should be done to differentiate atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome from thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura. The activity is less than 10% in TTP while it is more than 10% in atypical type. Now, blood urea nitrogen and creatinine levels are elevated because of acute renal insufficiency. There may be hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, hyperphosphatemia, hypocalcemia, and acidosis. Uric acid level is also increased. Serum protein and albumin levels may be mildly decreased. Serum bilirubin, alanine aminotransferase, and aspartate aminotransferase levels and lactate dehydrogenase level is also elevated. Now, in urine analysis, measurement of protein, heme, bilirubin, RBC, WBC, and CAS should be done. In stool examination, special culture plates are the sorbitol-McConkey agars, which are used for E. coli O157H7, but the culture is usually negative. Now, Shiga toxin specific antibody testing, gene testing, and ELISA are available, but these are rarely used for the diagnosis because the diagnosis is usually clinical. Stool leukocytes also have a little value in detecting E. coli infection. Now, serum complement C3 is decreased in atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome, and ECG monitoring should be done in the case of hyperkalemia. Chest X-ray shows pulmonary congestion or edema. Renal ultrasound show non-specific finding, that is increased echogenicity. Now, in the case of intestinal obstruction or perforation or pain, abdominal ultrasonography or CT scanning should be done. Now, in the case of neurological symptoms, non-contrast CT scan or MRI of the head should be advised. Renal biopsy is usually contraindicated because of thrombocytopenia. Now, I will discuss the management steps of hemolytic uremic syndrome. The first one is the fluid therapy. Early hydration with intravenous isotonic saline is important in the case of diarrhea. Monitor hydration status with frequent measurements of body weight, fluid intake and output, respiratory rate, heart rate, blood pressure, renal functions, and serum electrolytes. Now use a potassium-free fluid until renal function has stabilized. Now maintain a euvolemic state and avoid fluid overload and monitor for hyperkalemia. Once fluid deficit have been replaced, restrict fluid replacement to insensible losses plus actual output. Second important step is the management of acute renal failure. Consider early dialysis if the patient develops fluid overload, hyperkalemia, acidosis, hyponatremia, or oligonuria that is unresponsive to diuretics. Now, any type of dialysis can be used. However, peritoneal dialysis is usually well tolerated and technically easier, especially in small infants. Hemodialysis may be preferable in patients with severe abdominal pain. Continuous renal replacement therapy may be preferable for hemodynamically unstable patients. Now, patients who require this dialysis usually need 5 to 7 days of therapy. Third step is the management of hematological abnormalities. Packed RBC transfusion is given for symptomatic anemia, such as tachycardia, orthostatic changes in the blood pressure or heart rate, congestive heart failure, or if the hematocrit falls rapidly. In pneumococcal-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome, always use washed RBCs. Now, avoid platelet transfusion because it may promote platelet aggregation and thrombus formation and worsen the disease. However, some physicians recommend that transfuse platelets only if the patient has serious active bleeding or platelet count is less than 20,000 per microliter. Platelets may be given just before a surgical or catheter placement. Now, fourth important step is the management of hypertension. Calcium channel blockers such as amlodipine or isradipine are helpful. AC inhibitors are effective, but they should be used with caution in patients with decreased glomerular filtration rate or with hyperkalemia. Fifth step is the nutritional support. In the acute stage of illness, limit fluid intake to replace insensible losses and urine output. Patients should be encouraged to eat as tolerated if there is no contraindication to doing so. Supplemental formulas orally or by nasogastric tube may be used if oral intake is poor. A low-salt diet helps prevent fluid retention and elevated blood pressure. Consult a dietitian early in the course of illness. Intravenous hyperalimentation may be required in patients with prolonged diarrhea, colitis, abdominal pain, intestinal ileus, or anorexia. Now, avoid lipid infusion in the case of hypertriglyceridemia. Now, for pain management, use acetaminophen for the pain of colitis in Shiga toxin-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome. Avoid non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs because of their nephrotoxicity. Opioids can be used. In this, fentanyl is an excellent choice for patients with renal dysfunction. Hydromorphone and methadone can also be used, but with cautious monitoring for adverse effects. Do not use morphine, codeine, or meperidine in patients with decreased renal function. Now, for seizures, use anticonvulsants. Now, here I will like to mention the drugs which are contraindicated in diarrhea-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome. These include anticoagulants, antiplatelet agents, fibrinolytic therapy, antibiotics, and also corticosteroids are not useful. Now, some special consideration for atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. The offending drug should be discontinued and bacterial infections should be treated. Plasma therapy, that is plasmapheresis, in which patient plasma is removed and replaced with fresh frozen plasma, is useful in patients with complement factor deficiencies or with von Willebrand factor cleaving metalloproteinase deficiency. Now, in pneumococcal-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome, plasma exchange should be done with albumin replacement. This removes the neuraminidase and decrease amount of circulating anti-T antibody in the patient. Fresh frozen plasma is contraindicated in pneumococcal-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome because donor plasma may contain antibodies to the patient T antigen and worsen the hemolytic process. Now, simple plasma infusion, fresh frozen plasma, or the cryoprecipitate to reduce plasma can be used in atypical cases. This delivers the absent or abnormal von Willebrand factor metalloproteinases or complement factors, but simple plasma infusion does not remove the abnormal factors as plasmapheresis does, and there is risk of volume overload, especially in patients with reduced renal function. Now, the treatment of choice for atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome is eculizumab. It is a humanized monoclonal antibody against complement factor C5. Thus, it inhibits the progression of complement cascade and block terminal complement activation. Initially, it is given weekly and then tapered to every 2 weeks. Now, patients should receive meningococcal vaccine prior to this treatment if they have not been immunized or if the immunization status is unknown. Eculizumab is not approved for the Shiga toxin-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now, in end-stage renal disease, renal transplantation is beneficial for patients with Shiga toxin-producing E. coli hemolytic uremic syndrome as there is low risk of recurrence. But it is not beneficial for atypical type because of high risk of recurrence and allograft loss. Now, supportive medical care is the mainstay of treatment of hemolytic uremic syndrome. However, obtain surgical consultation if patient has severe abdominal pain or other abdominal findings of acute abdomen. Now, surgery may also be required for the placement of a dialysis catheter. Now, I will discuss the follow-up. Patient recovering from Shiga toxin-associated hemolytic uremic syndrome should have regular follow-up until their symptoms have resolved and their hemoglobin, platelet count, and renal function have returned to normal. All patients should have their blood pressure checked at each medical visit. Urine analysis, urine microalbumin, serum creatinine, and fasting glucose level should be checked on an annual basis. Consult patient on the importance of healthy lifestyle with regular exercise, healthy diet, and avoidance of tobacco and obesity. Now, patients with pneumococcal associated hemolytic uremic syndrome have a low risk of recurrence and should have follow-up as outlined above. Patients with idiopathic or genetically mediated hemolytic uremic syndrome are at high risk of having a persistent and relapsing course and most require more frequent and lifelong nephrology follow-up. Now, I will briefly give you the preventive measures of hemolytic uremic syndrome. Avoid ingestion of raw or undercooked meat. Avoid unpasteurized or raw milk and cheese. Practice good hand washing technique, especially during outbreaks of diarrhea. Wash hands after touching livestock, farm, or zoo animals. Avoid taking antidiarrheal or antimotility agents during diarrheal episodes. Avoid taking antibiotics for diarrhea unless under the supervision of physician. And seek medical care immediately for a bloody diarrhea. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel.